Xenophobia, Nigeria pulls out of World Economic Forum hosted by South Africa. Federal government raises $22.5 billion investment through Economic Recovery and Growth Plan Focus Labs. Plus, Nigeria's GDP slows in the second quarter of 2019 as Nigerian stocks start September upbeat. The program is Business Express, reaching you from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Amina Nujain. Welcome to the program. Impeccable sources at the presidency have confirmed the stepping down of Nigeria's participation at the World Economic Forum being hosted by South Africa in response to xenophobic attacks against Nigerians there. The Nigerian High Commissioner to South Africa has been recalled for consultation. Similarly, the Nigerian government is demanding full compensation for losses suffered by Nigerians and Nigerian businesses in South Africa. President Muhammadu Buhari had Wednesday morning held a strategic engagement with Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyeama following renewed hostilities against the nation's interest in South Africa. Now, in a bid to achieve its financial inclusion target, the federal government plans to extend pension and insurance coverage to 30 million Nigerians at the grassroots level who do not have access to financial services. The acting Director General National Pension Commission, PENCOM, Aisha Dahir Umar, said the move would ensure that 40% adult Nigerians are covered under the contributory pension scheme. Dahir Umar, who spoke at the 4th edition of the annual national conference organized by the National Association of Insurance and Pension Correspondents, said the figure includes self-employed Nigerians yet to officially embrace any form of financial service products, as Nigerians in the informal sector were yet to be aware of the numerous benefits of embracing them. Now, the latest gross domestic product report released by the National Bureau of Statistics indicate that Nigeria's economy grew at a slower rate in the second quarter of 2019. Leah Katumba Batunde has details.
The latest gross domestic product report released by the National Bureau of Statistics Tuesday indicate Nigeria's economy grew by 1.94% in the second quarter from 2.1% it recorded in the first. It gained 0.44% year-on-year and lost 0.16% over the quarter. During the second quarter, aggregate GDP was close to 35 million naira in nominal terms, an increase of 13.83% over the performance in the second quarter of 2018 and 9.8% over the preceding quarter. On a half-year basis, real growth in the first half of 2019 stood at 2.02% higher than 2018, which was 1.69%. The report points to information and communication, mining and quarrying, agriculture, transportation and storage, as well as other services as the major contributors to the slow pace of the non-oil sector, which grew by 1.64%, while the oil sector expanded by 5.15%. In real terms, the non-oil sector contributed 91.18% to the nation's GDP. This is higher than the 90.78% recorded in the first quarter of 2019. Crude oil production dipped to 1.98% million barrels per day from 1.99 million barrels in the previous quarter. The numbers are 7.6% higher than the daily average production of 1.84 million barrels per day recorded in the same quarter of 2018.
Thank you, Leah. Now, to discuss the latest GDP figures and what it means for Nigeria's economy, we are joined by Marcel Okeke. He is an economic expert from our Lagos Network Center. Mr. Okeke, thanks for joining us on the program.
Aisha.
The name is Amina, but you're good to see you on the program. Now, the gross domestic figure in the second quarter of 2019 has dropped. Would you give us an insight into what this means for the Nigerian economy?
Amina, thank you so much for this question. Well, it's just talking about middle of the year. We talked about the first quarter when the economy grew at 2.1%, and the second quarter now when it dropped to 1.94%. The factors that were at play that could account for the drop or little drop in GDP, those factors are likely to have been wiped out by the time we move into the third quarter and the fourth quarter. That's the second half of the year. For example, the elections that were held in the first quarter, had some kind of spillover effect because the outcome of the election created some uncertainties in the economy generally and in society. So because of that, some economic actors had to hold on and do a wait-and-see kind of approach to the activities in the economy. All that is settling down. Now that is becoming increasingly clearer as to who is what within the system. That is one. Two is that, the price of oil, the condition of oil in terms of volume of production and the price has been generally stable. And meaning that the expected income will continue to come as the year goes on. So with all this in place, I can say that the economy will still go beyond, what it attained, the GDP growth level in the first quarter and the second quarter going forward. Because when it becomes, and let me also say, now that, the appointed ministers are in place, it will also add to so many government activities and programs, playing out. And all this will add together in making things to, get better. And so, all things being equal, the third quarter and the fourth quarter are likely to, be better than what we have seen during the first and second quarter.
Let me probe a bit further. Now, despite the fact that there was a drop in GDP figure, the growth was slower in the second quarter. Now, if the elections and uncertainties are factors to be considered, elections have gone, so why is the growth slow?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Why the growth is slow, the uncertainties I'm talking about played out in the second quarter. The elections took place in the first quarter, and from that time, because of, I say, uncertainty, the outcome of the election. And even as we speak, the presidency, the outcome of the presidential election is still, being contested and all that. But it has narrowed down to, two presidential, the president and, one presidential candidate. And as we keep moving on, like I also have said, the ministers are now in place, other political appointees are now in place to start doing what they ought to be doing. And when they are doing that, in addition to the new initiatives, institutions like the Central Bank of Nigeria, are coming up with. As we speak now, they have raised, the ratio of loans to deposits that banks have to, attain, So all that are going to play out. There are a lot of concessionary loan packages that the central bank has put in place. All these things are going to play out. Plus a new initiative to make our investment climate more friendly. So all these are going to play out, and all this being equal, I'm saying again, the economy will grow faster and better in subsequent quarters going forward. So the second quarter, bore all those, bronze, coming over from the elections, like I said, and the fact that, some people were not sure whether there will be crises here and there. At the end of the day, there were no crises, and so Nigeria is still intact. And we want to believe that going forward, internal issues like kidnapping, some insecurity and all, the government is putting a lot in place to handle them, and so it will keep getting better, I want to believe.
Okay, we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Now let's talk about the non-oil sector. Despite contributing more than 90% to the GDP in actual sense, but it's not generating the right quantum of revenue. What do you make of these developments?
Then I want to thank you for this question. What that goes to point out is that there's so much talked about diversification in the economy has not been achieved. It's only flagging that issue, because we will tell ourselves we have achieved. In fact, it will be obvious that we have achieved diversification, effective diversification, when various activities, economic activities, begin to bring in, reasonable quantum of foreign exchange to assist or to augment what is coming in from oil. As we speak, it's like we solely depend on oil. And so for as long as the non-oil sector is not bringing in any substantial foreign exchange inflow, it means we are not going to see any impact. And that is why, like you said, yes, in nominal terms, is accounting for so much in GDP. But in real terms, you find out that it has not made much impact. Okay? And so, but government is aware of this situation. And that is why they are doing everything to encourage economic actors, to keep doing what they are doing better. And that is why government is doing everything to stop whatever importation they could stop, so that we now are forced or compelled, as it were, to produce those things and produce what we really need to consume here going forward. Thank you.
Still talking about going forward, you're talking about the restriction on forex on certain items. What other specific policies should governments undertake to ensure that Nigeria doesn't have any reason to worry about the economy?
What you are saying is an overstatement. There's no economy, there's no environment, no climate does not worry about the economy. Because as we speak now, with the war, trade war that is going on between US and some countries, with what is called Brexit, between UK and Europe, and so many other things going on in several climes, the economy is always the issue. Because even when you conduct elections and politicians win the elections, the yardstick you use in measuring their level of success is the state of the economy. And so we keep talking about the economy. The world is not even worried, because we'll be talking about doing something to improve the economy. So one of the things that has to be sustained, we're not talking about sustaining it, is the issue of our investment climate. Ease of doing business. The government has started something in that direction. It has to do more to make sure that the things we do here are competitive when we're exposed to the rest of the world. Because if it costs us a fortune here to produce something, we are not an island unto ourselves. By the time you compare, the price of what you are producing here and the price of what is produced elsewhere that is brought in here, you find out that we are terribly disadvantaged. But if the environment is enabling enough, the cost of production will be relatively low, and that means that whatever we are coming out with, that is, if we take care of the standard, will be competitive, vis-a-vis others that are coming in. That is one. Two is like what I said, the central bank is doing on the other hand, so that people who need money, to do business, the role of money in business is very crucial. So now we have concessionary loans of various kinds. Some are specially meant for MSMEs, that is medium and small scale enterprise organizations, and then you have the one that are meant, for the energy sector. You have the one that is meant for various sectors. So when all these are in place and they are functioning the way they ought to, the economy as a whole will now be getting better and better. So we'll be talking about sustainability to ensure that those programs and activities are sustained, that nothing interrupts them. That's the much I can say so far. There's a lot.
To my next question, talking about economic growth and development, the IMF and the Africa Development Bank projects that Nigeria's GDP is to grow by 2.3% in 2019 and 2.4% in 2020. With all these developments, how realistic do you see this happening?
Economic growth is a function of so many variables, both internal and external. Like I did say, no country is an island unto itself. And of course, you know that oil, on which we depend to a large extent, is an international product. The prices, and volume we even export are determined by factors beyond our control. So going forward, all things being equal, if oil keeps doing well, given the external and internal factors I'm talking about, it means that money will be coming in the volume we expect, and meaning that even the budget will work out the way it is, profiled. On the other hand, the programs and policies of the government I have mentioned, from the central bank side, including revenue generation, other revenue generation activities here, and including the activity of IFRS, that's Internal Revenue Generation Agency of the federal government. If all of them are functioning effectively, but let me also mention the issue of insecurity has to be handled so that people feel safe, feel calm, feel comfortable to engage in economic activities. When all these are working out, it means that certainly the economy will be doing well, But if anything happens somewhere that distorts the price or the expected price of oil, for example, there's no magic you can perform. Nigeria is just part and parcel of the global community, and whatever activities or whatever that is going on in some parts of the world or the rest of the world will certainly affect us. But if we succeed in handling something like security here, push so much in the area of agriculture, push so much in the area of making the investment climate conducive, push so much in the area of competitiveness of our environment, and so on and so forth. Why will we not make progress? We'll make progress, I am assuring you.
Definitely make progress. Mr. Okeke from our Lagos Network Center, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for featuring me.
Now, moving on. The Nigerian stock market recorded first losses this week as the effect of xenophobic attack in South Africa impact markets. At the close of trade, the NSE OSHA index lost 0.97% to end at 27,319.64 basis points. Market capitalization 13.29 trillion naira. Volume of trade stood at 250 million, valued at 3.19 billion in 3,219 deals. Top trades were Access Bank, WABCO, and Zenith Bank. And European stocks higher Wednesday as banks in Europe face weaker revenue outlook. Bosede Abel has detail of global market activities.
Early trading Wednesday, 4th September, saw European stocks trading sharply higher after British lawmakers defeated Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government in a vote to seize control of parliamentary business, moving closer to blocking a non-deal Brexit. Stocks in Hong Kong soared nearly 4% following reports that a controversial extradition bill is set to be withdrawn. By the close of trade, the Hang Seng Index jumped 3.9% to 26,523.23, piercing some gains after surging as high as more than 4% earlier. Shanghai Composite rose 0.93% to about 2,957 0.41%, and Nikkei also gained 0.12% to close at 20,649.14. Stocks in the United States were sharply higher in early trading. Dow futures rose 242 points, indicating a positive open of more than 241 points. Futures on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite were both higher. In Africa, stocks were mostly negative. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index posted gains, while Ghana's GSA Composite, Nairobi's All Share, and Tunisia's Tunidex were negative.
Thank you, Abosede. Let's now see how the Naira is exchanging for other international currencies. Oil prices recovered some grounds on Wednesday after 3 days of losses on fears a weakening global economy boosted by wider market pickup on positive news from China's service sector. Brent crude was up 15 cents at $58.4 a barrel, while U.S. Texas Intermediate futures gained 24 cents at $54.18 a barrel. U.S. data released on Wednesday showed manufacturing activity contracted in August for the first time in 3 years, while Eurozone activity shrank for a 7th month. As early harvesters bring in news from farm produce, let's see prices of commodities on domestic and global markets. Well, with that, we wrap up this edition of Business Express. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is @NTA News. Now, don't forget the hashtag BizExp. Join us again on Friday for another package. I am Amina Nujain. Thanks for watching.